hey man, you got $350,000 of home equity, you know, a bank's going to give you 80% LTV on that at 8.5%. And 8.5 isn't much higher than what mortgage rates are right now. So you might as well get access to that money. So, these are the tools. These are the strategies that we're teaching people, along with the tactical, hey, get in these groups, get connected with these real estate agents. And what's really cool now with the inner circle is people are starting to source deals for each other and together. So that is one thing that you and I talked about almost a year ago on wanting to turn the group into, is like a trusted mastermind that we're learning from each other, but we're starting to do business with one another.
How do you find the will to fight back against a world that wants to keep you sedated, average, and stuck in place? Join us for the tools and strategies you need to create a life of abundance, discipline, and high achievement. This is the Tactical Empire with Jeff Smith.
Welcome to another episode of the Tactical Empire. I'm here with Sean Ryder. What's up, my man? How are you?
What's happening? Finished a busy weekend. The local festival is over. Daughter ran a 9.7 mile, which I'm pumped about. Funny story is they call it the Bloomin' Mile, and the youngest age group is 6 and 7. We signed her up when she was 4. 2 years ago to run this thing, and we signed her up last year when she was 5. So this is officially the first year she could actually run it. 4 years old might have been a little too young for the mile because she was bawling her eyes out at the start of it 2 years ago. But this was the first year where she stepped up to the line and super confident. So it was awesome to see her run that loop. So anxious to see what she does next year as the 7-year-old in that bracket. But she got 17th place with the 9.07. So pretty pumped.
That's solid time. Yeah, that's really good.
I would not want to run it. And it starts with an incline because it goes around the school, the road that goes around the school, and it starts uphill. So all these kids are sprinting up this hill. So they're all dying by the time they get to the top. And they hold on really well from the 6-year-olds, and they have like 5 age brackets. So you see all these kids just crush that first hill, and they're all dying by the end of it. But they're formidable. They fight through it. It's cool to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. Well, congratulations. That sounds fun.
What about you guys? You guys have had a pond front location for your first week in the RV?
Yeah. Well, it's been a little interesting because yes, we are staying at like a resort with a pond or whatever, which is the pictures that you've seen. But we've also had like tornadoes rip through here and flood the shit out of Houston, and so we have also had ponds everywhere. So it has been quite interesting for first few days. I think we've been in 2 weeks now. We only closed on our house 1 week ago, but the kids have been wanting to stay here for 2 weeks at this point. So yeah, now we are wrapping up all the loose ends. We're trying to get our other RV sold immediately, and got a few loose ends to tie up before we leave town. And that's looking like next week. So, and we'll be on the road.
You guys, the unknowns and unknowables of RV life get thrown at you in week 1 with tornadoes. How do we lock down our home when it's on wheels?
Yeah, well, it was kind of interesting because I was like, hey, at least we're here to experience this stuff, because you got to get through all that stuff, right, to give you a little confidence. Just like everything else, you got to live it.
Man, I'm pretty fired up. We've come out maybe almost a month already, a couple weeks out from our meetup in Birmingham. But we've added some really great men to the Inner Circle group. The topics around real estate and getting your first deals have increased. Some men have gotten their first deals, but we were talking a little bit about how some guys are struggling to find deals, and it's really because they're working with real estate agents that don't know how to find deals or send them deals. So let's just kind of take a step back a little bit today, and let's say you're mentoring me, and I'm like, hey, I can't find a deal, and all I'm doing is telling my real estate agent to send things my way. What are a few of the low-hanging fruit actions that I could take personally to make sure that I'm getting exposure to deals? Who are the people I need to be within arm's reach from? And then what can I do to help facilitate those deals? I know we've brought this up on other episodes, but let's keep it super simple and clean today on like, here's the 5 to 10 things that you need to do to empower yourself to find the deals and not just rely on a singular real estate agent that may not be used to feeding deals to people.
Well, the first thing you need to do to look serious is to establish what you're trying to buy, like your buy box, if you will, which we talk about a lot, but you have to get that dialed in, because otherwise you look very unserious when you approach anyone. If you approach a wholesaler, if you approach a realtor, if you approach anyone, they're just like, I'm not wasting my time on that person, because they don't know what the hell they want. So they're going to kick tires for 6 months, 8 months, and it's going to waste my time. So like, and what I mean by that is, if you go to a real estate agent, let's just say in this case, or even a wholesaler, because they're very similar in their approach, because they're identifying deals that are coming across their desk frequently, but they need to then match them with an investor or a buyer, right? And so if they don't know what you're looking for, they can't ever think of you. You're never going to be top of mind. But if you can go in and say, hey, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in these 3 zip codes, and I prefer brick exterior for maintenance, and I want nothing larger than 1,600 square feet. Like, something like that is very clear on what you're doing. If you just go to these guys and you say, I want to buy an investment property, they have no idea what you're talking about, and they will forget you as soon as that conversation's over. Be clear on what you want. Like, are you looking for storage? Are you looking for land? Are you looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath or single family rental? Or are you looking for a 6 to 10 unit apartment complex? Like, if you just say, I'm looking to invest and I'm looking for some properties, like, that means nothing to me. And it means nothing to anybody else either, because they just don't have time for it, because they have so many real people that they're looking for deals for, that are crystal clear on what they're looking for. So I don't think realtors are terrible, and they're not terrible sources, but what you need is, you need a lot of realtors. You think of putting together like an army of people that are, or army of eyeballs, and that's what you're doing. So when you build that buy box, you contact at least, I suggest at least 5 realtors, and say, hey, do you work with investors, or are you usually retail? Because they usually know you want to find the people that work with investors, because otherwise it's a completely different ball game. Like, retail selling the subdivision house for their neighbor Susie because they're wine buddies is not who you're looking for if you're a real estate investor. You want somebody who's cut their teeth and like not a weekend warrior, not selling a couple deals a month. You want somebody that works with investors, that turns a bunch of deals, which means that they have access to a lot of deals. They're hearing about a ton of things. And then you go to them and tell them what you're established and looking for. Like, if you say, hey, I'm looking for that 1,600 square feet, 3-2, and I've got cash and can close in 2 weeks, they know who they're dealing with on the back end as an investor. So you want to find at least 5 of those people, 10 people in the real estate space that are bird dogging deals for you, because then you've got a whole army of eyeballs, and they also have all their connections, which is their uncle's sister's brother who's hearing about deals as well. And so that's one angle you definitely want to touch. So you don't just say, we're not dealing with realtors. You just need to build your own little team of realtors that's looking and are crystal clear. And then you have communication follow-up, creating a cadence of how often you communicate with them based on how prevalent they are in the market, if you will. So there's people that you want to contact weekly via email or whatever. Like, you're not going to be annoying with these people. Like, hey, just to follow up, just to say hi, stay in top of mind with them. You want to do the same thing with wholesalers. So you want to create a network of wholesalers. You want to tell them your buy box. I'm looking for this particular asset class. I'm looking for this particular asset in this price point in this area. And then they're looking for you as well. Then you go out and you join every investor group on Facebook that you can be a part of that's in that area as well. Some of them are straight trash and scammy as hell and just annoying. Other ones you can find like legit people in, and you just have to kind of vet that out to figure out what you want to do there. And then Facebook Marketplace is another place you can be mining frequently. For me, when I was really actively buying single family homes, I was all over Zillow and setting my alerts on Zillow with my buy. So you can build your buy box in there with a login, and then you can set alerts for certain zip codes so that I get an email every time one of these houses lists that's in my parameters. Okay. And so that's the way I'm watching the MLS. And so I can instantly reach out to one of these realtors and say, what's the deal with this? Have you heard about this property? Then they go get you more information, run your CMAs, shoot you a thing back, a CMA back while you're running your calculations on rehab costs and things like that, so that you need to move very quickly. Then also you would be beating up Facebook Marketplace to see homes for sale in certain areas and trying to find deals, because those are popping up whenever the people list them, right? They could be 10 o'clock at night. You may not have seen certain ones. So I would just plan 5-10 minutes to go out and peruse Marketplace either every day, every other day, something like that, to make sure that you've seen the inventory that's out there as well. Because there's a lot of people out there posting homes that are trying to not work with a realtor. There's a lot of creative deals being done out there because of that. There's a bunch of people with paid off properties. I think I've said the numbers as high as 40% in the nationwide. When you see people posting their properties on Facebook Marketplace, a lot of times they have zero debt on that property, because they're either testing the market to see what they can get on it, or they're in a tough spot and they're trying to put it out there and do it themselves so they don't have to give up the 6% to maximize their profit. There's just a variety of reasons, but those, I know you asked me for like 10 things. Those are the 3 ways I would start for sure. Is build a team of realtors, 5 to 10 realtors that know your buy box. Build a team of wholesalers. And one thing I didn't mention is when you go out to those investor sites, like I'm a real estate investor in Houston. When you join those Facebook groups, search for wholesale and search the search term wholesale. You'll see past conversations that have happened with wholesalers. Then I would build a Gmail account that's just a deal account, so it doesn't come to your regular email account, because you'll get inundated with millions of deals, right? So you build a property account that's just for this, and then you go out to those Facebook conversations that have gone on, and you drop your email in the comments when they ask for comments, or you then DM the person and give them your email address. Doesn't matter which one. If you drop it in the comments, you'll get on a bunch of wholesalers lists, because they're scraping that data all the time. So like if you're talking to me and giving me your email address, and Sean does the same thing as me, Sean may come on there to those comments and take my email address and add my email to his list, which is fine for that purpose, because you're looking for deals. And so you need to be doing that. And then the rest of it, so wholesalers, realtors, and then you need to be looking on Facebook Marketplace, and then understanding Zillow as well. And I talk about Zillow a lot just because it's a good resource. It's not where to find all your information, but it's a good data source for you, because you can instantly flip the search to rents in that same area. So I can be looking on this street on a certain block, and then I can see what the houses are selling for on that block, and then I can toggle straight into rents on that block. And so I can cross-reference what a rent comp would be in that same area.
Okay, so let's break out some of those. So I've worked with people and talked about building out their real estate teams, and one pushback that they get is their realtor only wants them to work with them. So how do you navigate, especially if they have a previous relationship with a realtor? How do you navigate the conversation with someone? Especially if you're a young, not proven investor, you feel like you don't have the authority to say, well, this is how I'm going to do it. Or is it as simple as like hurting some feelings and saying, well, this is how I'm going to do it. Whoever brings me the deal gets the business. How do you navigate that conversation when you openly tell realtors, hey, I'm not signing a piece of paper to be exclusive with you? Because I've seen it more than one time that clients of ours have gotten pushback from their realtor that, hey, I'm exclusive. I'm not, so how do you handle that conversation when you're not proven?
I think you're probably talking to the wrong real estate agents in that situation, because most investor agents know what that conversation looks like, because they're like, I'm going to bring you deals, and then or they'll have a conversation before, like, hey, will you sign an NDA on this thing? And I'm like, I'll sign whatever the fuck you want, but I'm not going to be captive to you. I'm not signing a contract for 6 months that you're going to be my buyer's agent, because that locks me up. It's not only that is the worst thing you can do as a investor, and you have to understand that, and they know that as well, because that's why someone that's serious about helping you isn't going to make you do that. I work with real estate investor agents that send me stuff, and as soon as they bring me a deal, I sign a contract with them for that property if I'm going to buy that property. And that's the way it works. Like, it's just a simple conversation. If someone doesn't understand that if I sign a contract with you that binds me up for 6 months, that means that I am not like a free agent anymore. Like I can't go snatch properties in real time anymore because I have to then call the guy that I haven't talked to in 3 weeks and put a deal across his desk that maybe I found on my own. And like, so
Right.
it's just not expedient for anybody involved. And the people that don't understand that are often retail agents
Mm-hmm.
because that's usually what they're worried about because they were taught a certain way and they're like commission, commission, commission. And I also just say, hey, listen, dude, like I'm looking for partners in this journey. I'm not looking for a one and done deal. And so like you don't need to worry about the contract we're going to sign until you bring me the deal that we're going to do. And then I'll sign that contract and I'll close that deal. But for me, I'm looking for volume. So if you want to be a part of this, I'm going to do 10 deals this year. And so if you want to send me that, or I'm going to do 100 deals this year, like you would be a dipshit to be like, hey, well, I'm not going to start this process until you sign this contract.
Right.
Because like that's just a stupid way to do business. I mean, I'm not saying don't sign contracts, so don't mishear what I'm saying. Like at some point you're going to sign that contract, but it's going to be, I'm just fully transparent with everybody. And as long as you're fully transparent that you're looking for deal flow, I just don't think that person, if they bring you that pushback, they're not the right person for your team.
Noted. All right, cool. That's a good response. Now let's move to the next one, and let's just go back to real estate investing 101. Go ahead and describe, a wholesaler's job. What are they trying to do? What is their role, and how do you interact with them? And how do you know that they should get a piece of this and make money because they found the deal, but without overextending yourself and giving them too much? How is there a rule of thumb on how that relationship and those transactions go about?
So a wholesaler is a person that arranges the contract. And so what they're doing is they're reaching out to people that are off market. So they're not for sale. They're calling all these people that may have tax liens or may have a variety of things going on. They're contacting these people and they're saying, hey, we understand you're kind of up against it. Would you like to sell your house? And they're like, yes or no. And then if they say yes, then we go down the road of how much would you be looking for? And then they say, whatever, $200,000. Okay. Well, what's the condition of the house? Stuff like that. And then you eventually work backwards based on any deferred maintenance or repairs that are done. So like if you come to me and you say, Jeff, I want $200,000 for my house. And I say, okay, we can do your price, but I'm going to deduct any repairs or maintenance, right? And so then at some point, usually what they do is they put people on the ground and they send someone out there to inspect the property, if you will. Okay, so it needs a roof, it needs plumbing, it needs this, it needs that. I back out of it by $80,000 and I come back and say, Sean, this is all the things wrong with your property. And so I'm looking at closer to a number of like 120. Then the negotiation begins and let's say you settle at 150, whatever, and that works for everybody, right? Then they sign a contract that says they have the ability to assign that contract. So I contract it with you for 150,000. We sign it, do the paperwork, and then I have a period of time to sell that contract. And so that allows me to go find my buyer that wants it for 150. Well, let's say that's where it gets interesting. They maybe want it for 170. And so my job is to negotiate in my fee. So if I know I can sell it to someone down the road for 170, then if I can get it down to 150, I get the delta of the deal, right? So I'm going to make $20,000. I'm going to bring the deal to my buyer. He's going to buy it for 170 and then take the deal down and close on it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And so keep going.
And so the real thing, people would often say, why would you pay someone $20,000 for contracting a deal? I would tell you that you're thinking small. Like in that case, if the numbers work for you at 170 and you can buy it and make money on it, you then do not have to be your own deal sourcer, right? So it doesn't matter how the deal finds you. So this is where people get into like, they get all emotional about it, right? So they're like, and it's really like anti-capitalist, weird shit. But people get hung up on like giving somebody a lot of money for what they perceive as not a lot of work.
Mm.
And so like there's a negative perception about wholesalers. I love wholesalers because I don't like cold calling. I don't like talking to anybody. I don't even like the negotiation part. I mean, I do enough negotiating on my own shit. I'm not interested. But if you bring me a deal that pencils at the right number, you are a great partner to me. And like I am happy to take that down. I don't care if you fucking contracted the thing for $1 and you made 169,999 on that deal. Good for you. Because I don't know what you did to take it down like that or get it for $1. None of my business. None of my business. But at the end of the day, I'm going to take that deal still because it works for me. And you have served it up on a platter for me. And I can keep doing what I'm great at, buying, putting into operation and moving down the road. Because I just want, I'm trying to line up deals for my portfolio. It's none of my business how it got to me.
Okay.
And
So at the end of the day, you're not really negotiating with the wholesaler. You're just trying to make sure that the numbers pencil on your end. So it's not really about the conversation to get that deal. It's just making sure your numbers are good for you and you don't have to worry about what their numbers are for them.
Well, yes, exactly. You just have to, you do negotiate with wholesalers. So don't misunderstand that. You do, their price is their starting price. And so there is room. You have to understand that when they bring you a deal, let's say they put that on my desk for 170, I have to understand there's meat on that bone, right? And so like, but there's time. There's a time valuation to it too. So like if it absolutely kills it on the calculator at 170, I probably don't care. If it's thin, I'm probably going to go back to him and be like, hey, I need to get that for like 158, something like that. Where are you at on it? And because then they're going to come back and you're going to actually understand how much meat there is. Like if there's 100, if they come back and they got 169,000 on the bone on a single family home, you can take them way down because they're like, I don't give a shit. Like I'm gonna make 80 grand if I sell it to you for 80 grand. I'm trying to retain some of these profits, of course, but like at that point they're more negotiable. But if a lot of times they lock up deals that they have real thin margins on, and you'll know as soon as you make your counter, like, hey, this won't work, and then you go back and they're like, hey, man, listen, I'm trying to eke out. And this was especially more prevalent prior to 2020. The margins have changed dramatically since COVID for some bizarre reason. So like now most wholesalers are making like $10,000 minimum on a deal, on a disposition. Before this, when we like 20 teens, like it would be commonplace for a wholesaler to make somewhere between 3 and 12,000. Now they're making like 20,000 a deal, 30,000 a deal. So I think it's just a byproduct of the appreciation that has went on. But like I'm not positive about it, but there's some serious meat in there, and you can eke it down. So you should negotiate with wholesalers for sure. For me, like when the deal works, I'm happy to do it because I want them to bring me more deals. It's about like the win-win that you're looking for. Like I'm saying, I'm not trying to pull that guy's pants down and make sure I get the most of the profit for myself. Like I'm looking for something mutually beneficial, and then we can keep it moving. Like I'm going to add it to my portfolio, bring me a deal next week.
Awesome.
And like, I don't want to argue about it or quibble about it. I'm not going to let a deal fall out for $5,000.
Yep.
Because the big picture is like that it's negligible. It doesn't even matter.
Perfect. And the last one you said was Facebook Marketplace. Who are we dealing with when we're looking at properties on Facebook Marketplace? Are people allowing their realtors to post their properties on Facebook Marketplace, or is it the home buyer or the home seller, homeowner, or is it both?
Both. You never know. It's the Wild West. Yeah. That's why, you gotta be careful out there a little bit. But you
Venmo me the 200K and you got yourself a deal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is like that. You want to make sure you know who you're dealing with. You want to check all the boxes. I really just find it as like a starting point though. Like then you've got to vet it and see who's out there, because wholesalers are posting deals on Facebook Marketplace. I've seen realtors post deals on Facebook Marketplace, and like and then there's the end user or the owner of the property as well. So you just really need to figure it out. The best people you can deal with are the owners, obviously, because you have a lot of room there. You can do creative financing with them, and that's where you can really, like, we're seeing a lot of people knock deals out of the park over there. A buddy of mine has going gangbusters on buying 0% properties. So he's had a ton of luck negotiating with paid off sellers that have a certain buying price they want. They have a certain asking price they want. And if you meet it and you don't mention interest rate, like, okay, Sean, you want that same deal at $200,000. I'll pay you your price. How much do you need to make on a monthly basis? And you say $1,000 a month. I say, deal, done. And so I'm going to pay you $1,000 a month for 200 months is the way that deal's written. If I know it works, then everything is negotiable on these deals. And so that's a seller financing, seller carry type deal. There's subject to, that's a completely different ball game, but like where guys are coming in and taking over the note at the low interest rate because somebody bound it in 2019 at 4% or 3%, and you're taking on that note, which there's a lot of complexity to that. And it's a little riskier, obviously. But the seller financing deal at 0% is one that I got from Dan Constantino originally. But a buddy of mine, Travis Wells, is putting it to work at like a rocket ship pace. And so he's down in like Corpus Christi and the San Antonio, the Valley area, and just making tons of deals with owners on it. But it's actually a real brilliant play. Just you're not mentioning interest rate, you're talking purchase price, and then you're talking how much cash flow do they need. And if you stick to those parameters throughout the negotiation, interest rates never really brought up.
Interesting. Love that. So just to wrap, I love this episode. So we got 3 big things for people in order to find the right deals and get the right people involved. So you and I haven't talked about macroeconomics in a while, but we can wrap up this episode with, we went from 6 potential rate cuts this year down to 3, and now it's potentially down to 1. What have you been hearing? What are your thoughts? I mean, I know your general thought is just keep buying shit. It doesn't matter. But like, what are some other things that other people may not have heard about, or maybe concerned about or not concerned about, and what's going through the grapevine on your end, because you're connected to a lot of people?
Oh man, yeah. I don't think anyone knows what's going on right now, honestly. I think most people have settled in with like, we're not cutting rates, and like you need that to be your mindset because it builds resiliency. If you count on it to go down, then all you do is take these L's every time the next Fed meeting comes out, and they're like, no, we're not doing it again. And like from a business perspective and an investor perspective, you have to be more resilient than that. So you've got to plan for the worst and then hope for the best. Most people I'm talking to are kind of, if they're going to drop, they're looking at late summer. But we're not going to see what we thought we were going to see, which kind of we were prospecting at the end of last year that we might see rates go back down into the 5s by this time. And that's not happening. No way. And so what I think after kind of swinging and missing a couple times so far this year, most of my circle of people that I talk to have relegated to the fact that like, fuck it, this is it. We're staying where we're at, and we're going to do business as such. So I don't have any more information than anyone else at this point. I think it's a crapshoot. None of us know, because we're all the peons and the fucking slaves in the ant farm.
Sure.
So.
Sure. No, I hear you. So it seems like, I with my conversations with people, it's like, if you're not already in, it's easier for the people that are in, right? They can manage that. For people that are out, it's like they are being played emotionally with this game. But I want to go back to something you said. It's like, if you're one of the 40% that has a paid off home, like imagine how much more real estate you could buy if you leverage the equity of that home. So, people say, everyone, I think it's just a placeholder statement. Like, I don't have any money. But then you look at their home equity and you look at what's in their government qualified retirement accounts, and like they just view that as trapped money, or they view it as an asset. Oh, I got all these assets, but it's not actually producing for them, and it's not helping them today. So, that's what we're helping with some men at the ground level inside of the inner circle is, hey man, you got a $250,000 401k, and that you got laid off 6 months ago, and that money's just sitting there. So let's put it to work. Or, hey man, you got $350,000 of home equity. A bank's going to give you 80% LTV on that at 8.5%. And 8.5 isn't much higher than what mortgage rates are right now. So you might as well get access to that money. So, these are the tools. These are the strategies that we're teaching people, along with the tactical, hey, get in these groups, get connected with these real estate agents. And what's really cool now with the inner circle is people are starting to source deals for each other and together. So that is one thing that you and I talked about almost a year ago, on wanting to turn the group into, is like a trusted mastermind that we're learning from each other, but we're starting to do business with one another. And that's because that's a big hang up for people, is not trusting others, right? Like they think other people are going to get out ahead of them. And they're so worried about that, that I'm going to lose money and you're going to make money. It was like, hey, let's go ahead and move forward together and get connected, because we're in the same group. So I'm excited for the future with the guys in the inner circle. Jeff, love this episode. Good topics. Is there anything you want to send the people out on?
Yeah, man. I think it was a great episode. Lots of good content. If you want to get in the game, like, you don't have to have money. Like we talked about, there's never been a better time for creative financing. So you're talking about, like, what is the government doing? What is the Fed doing? What are they doing with our interest rates? There's never been a better time for people to go outside of that framework and system and do business with other people and stay clear of that shit. Because, like, and that's why I'm saying, like, do the interest rates matter? I don't know. Do they? Like, because if you've got a paid off house and I can still call you and say, hey, I want to buy that from you, and we can do a transaction, like, we don't need to worry about the interest rates, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, again, the people that don't have the money to hop in the game, they just don't know what they don't know right now. And it's just like when you come in and you say, hey, I did this exact same thing when I started buying single family homes in Burring. I had $150,000 and I thought that, like, I could buy 5 houses with that, $30,000 a piece for, like, $550,000 houses. And so I did that. I bought them. I ran out of money and I was fucked. And so, like, then I started asking people wiser than me, like, what do I do now? Because it seems like I've got to go back to my job and save up another $30,000. And this sounds like shit. It sounds like it sucks. It sounds slow. And then I got introduced to a few people that were smarter than me, that knew the game. And they were like, you did it all wrong. And I'm like, oh, okay. And now I'm a little wiser than that. And I understand how to access more money without my money, leverage other people's money to create wins for everybody, and which allows me to continue to grow and not get stuck. So there's not enough money in the world that I wouldn't be willing to spend on that kind of knowledge, because most people that are sitting back waiting to learn stuff are wasting time. And unfortunately, like, action is what you need. And so, and then you align yourself with people and resources that are ahead of you, so that they can teach you what to do, so you can limit your mistakes, limit your money lost, limit your time lost. And so, money loves speed. So, I'll just wrap it up with that. Guys, share the show if there was anything valuable. We're looking for more listeners all the time for the Tactical Empire. If you know somebody that might be interested in this episode or interested in sourcing real estate deals, send it to them. Tag me in it. I'll share your shit. That's all good. Reach out to us if you have any questions, though. And we're here for you guys if you need anything else. Have a great week.